Top 10 Unexpected Thanksgiving Movie Playlist. Thanksgiving is a weird holiday. It's a fall holiday, kind of like Halloween, but in practice, it's kind of more like Christmas, but without presents. It's also an American exclusive holiday, so production studios don't really invest in it since global box office is an important factor in the success of the movie. But before we get into all that, let's just talk about what we're all grateful for here, okay? I'm grateful that you just hit the like button just now, and I'm also grateful for newcomers who subscribe. And if you don't want to subscribe right now, I get it. That's cool, whatever. Subscribe later, but at least hit the like button, because you can always unlike it if you don't like it later, and you'll probably forget to do it. So just like it now, and just do me a favor, do yourself a favor, but mostly just do me a favor. Thank you so much. I'm thankful for you. So like I was saying, there's not a ton of Thanksgiving themed movies, and part of that is due to the fact that like the global box office is super important for making money in Hollywood. And a lot of movies that are actually made to be Thanksgiving movies are typically like made for TV movies, or they're explored in like quintessentially American TV shows and sitcoms like Friends. And, you know, if you're not American, or even if you are American, I don't really know, but like Thanksgiving has this really controversial cultural history, and it's really more about like the strategic military partnership where agriculture and geographic knowledge is bartered by indigenous groups in exchange for militaristic safety against both the colonials and neighboring hostile tribes. And that pisses a lot of people off because, you know, like we were taught in school lies, go figure. Like in America, what we're taught is that Thanksgiving is this moment where like people came together, and like the white people and the indigenous people held hands and sung Kumbaya, and they shared turkey, and they burnt the turkey, and so they decided to go out for Chinese food, and like that's like what we're taught in school, right? Like Thanksgiving is this awesome thing, and there's also this really bloody cultural history that just doesn't get taught because it's not kid friendly. And this video is not about that, okay? Like if you really want to know more about that, I honestly recommend that you do. Like I suggest that you go do that, and I'll leave some videos in the description that I think do a really good job of covering that part of Thanksgiving. But let's talk about what Thanksgiving means to us in America today and how we're going to choose to interact with it, because pretty much every holiday has a slew of movies made for everyone with big budgets, right? Like Halloween, Christmas. Well, that's really it. But like Thanksgiving comes in November, which is sort of the forgotten middle child of the holiday season between Halloween and Christmas. And that's a damn shame, because we're expected to go from spooky, supernatural creep show with ghosts, monsters, murderers, and gore to this like holly jolly happy season of giving, where we realize that the best gifts in life aren't always something that you can wrap up in a bow and stick under a solstice shrubbery. And we have to make that jump without any kind of seasonal foreplay or post-coitus. And don't get me wrong here, right? There are some Thanksgiving movies. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, Charlie Brown's Thanksgiving, Pieces of April, Addams Family Values, Son-in-Law, but every Thanksgiving movie feels kind of one-dimensional, and we get some pretty amazing campiness out of all of them, but they're all just rom-coms, more or less. So in order to make this video, I put some thought into getting a diverse list of films together from different genres, and at the center of this whole exercise, I really posed a question to myself, an interrogation, if you will, a philosophical exploration of sorts, to understand one thing. What do we really need from a Thanksgiving movie anyways? And I think each of these movies answers that question in a very different way for different people, because while we celebrate Thanksgiving, it kind of looks different for each of us. Anyway, enough blabbering, let's get into the list. Also, I'm just going to put these in order of how I wrote them down, not in order of importance or anything. So like, you know, my number 10 could be your number 1, whatever. Like this is not in rank order of best to worst. So I don't want to hear anything in the comments about how you put this movie last. No, this is just movies in no particular order. All right, first but not least, Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. All right, this one should be a fairly easy get. Not because it's a Thanksgiving movie so much, but because you can't really tell if it's Halloween or Christmas. It's got ghosts, it's got ghouls, it's got wizards, it's also got...
Happy Christmas, Harry. Happy Christmas, Ron.
And the music is done by the Christmas maestro himself, John Williams. So instead of us all fighting over whether it's a Halloween movie or a Christmas movie, let's just call the movie that takes us from gothic supernatural to cozy and festive a Thanksgiving movie. Also, it has a lot of cable knit sweaters and some fresh fall fits, so like it's a solid, safe Thanksgiving movie. Moving on. Number 2, Little Miss Sunshine. Little Miss Sunshine is not a fall movie. It's probably the greatest family movie ever made, and Thanksgiving is all about family. It follows the tale of a dysfunctional family who go on a road trip together, and it's all about like trying to get their daughter to this beauty pageant. Each family member is a wholly unique character, and they all have different motivations, they have different issues in life, and no matter who you are, there's bound to be at least one character character in this film that you connect with. Their dysfunction and their character traits play off each other extremely well to tell a story about people falling apart, but a family coming together. And it's really heartwarming, sad, and absolutely hilarious.
Are you getting any?
Dad!
You can tell me, Dwayne. Are you getting any?
And that's what family is sometimes. And for that, I deem this Little Miss Sunshine film a Thanksgiving movie. But for a lot of people, family isn't the people that you're born with. It's the people you choose. And for that, I give the next spot to James and the Giant Peach. So this story by Roald Dahl is about a kid living with his evil aunts who exploit a gift that he's given for profit while treating him basically like shit. And it's got this gothic Burton vibes that we associate with Halloween, but it's also mostly a claymation movie, kind of like those Rankin Bass Christmas movies that make it an on-screen bridge between Halloween and Christmas. And it's got a wholesome message about a group of misfits who come together to make their own family, and they do it over food. I recently rewatched it, and I promise it's not as horrifying or traumatizing as you probably remember it being growing up. But you know, if you grew up with this movie as a kid, you know what I'm talking about. But all around, solid Thanksgiving movie. All right, next we got James Bond himself, right? Yep, honestly, if you ever grew up with cable TV, you know exactly what I'm talking about. You know exactly why James Bond is on this list. The Spike TV Thanksgiving Day Marathon, all right? And yeah, it's an accidental tradition that my family adopted because other than the Macy's Day Parade, there's really nothing on TV that you can veg out to while the tryptophan takes hold of your body and you struggle to wipe the cranberry sauce off your sweater because you're in a catatonic food coma. And to really make the most of that fugue state, you need minimal thought and maximal camp. So for that reason, I recommend watching Moonraker because it's the absolute worst James Bond movie, which ironically makes it the best James Bond movie. But honestly, just watch whichever one you like. And if you're like my vegan cousin and you'd rather substitute that toxic, misogynistic white male meat for the vegan alternative, I honestly don't blame you, and instead you should just watch Austin Powers because it's just as campy, but it makes fun of Bond and is like a little bit less misogynistic, I think. All right, next up on the list, we got Step Brothers. Step Brothers is a film about two grown-ass men from very different home lives who come together and befriend their sworn enemy in an epic and campy film about growing up but never truly letting go of the things that shaped you in your youth. And come on, that's got a Thanksgiving written all over it, right? Like the Pilgrims and the indigenous tribes of Northeastern America, two sworn enemies who join forces, and also family drama and stuff, right? Like this movie is like going to Thanksgiving with your family while your stepbrother ridicules you for that thing that you did when you were like 10 in front of your new boyfriend or girlfriend or non-binary partner that you're trying to look cool in front of. Plus, it's extremely quotable and relatable. It's an epic film, and I think it deserves to be seen as one of the greatest Thanksgiving movies of all time. All right, next we got Fantastic Mr. Fox. For some people, this is probably already on your Thanksgiving list, but hey, this is my video. If you want to complain about the movies that I have on my list, go make your own video and post it on YouTube. See how much love that gets. My last video got like 200 views, so like, who the fuck am I to talk? Anyways, Fantastic Mr. Fox is a great Thanksgiving movie, and I have two words that describe why Fantastic Mr. Fox is the best Thanksgiving movie. Wes Anderson. Yes, Wes Anderson, right? He's got his own cinematic style. Just everything is like yellow and just like orange, and there's leaves everywhere, and plus apple fucking cider. Like that's what this movie is about. It's about cider, but it's also about, you know, providing for your family at all costs, and it's told from the perspective of the oppressed, right? Like the foxes are not the ones with the guns here, right? Like, I mean, yes, they're the thieves, but like they're doing it to survive. And Mr. Fox really just has to keep stealing, and he has this sort of like moral dilemma of like, is it right to steal for your family? And like his son doesn't want to be like that. Like these are just the conversations that like you have when you're sitting at Thanksgiving with your family and you're listening to your grandpa or your dad or your mom or whoever your parental or guardian figure is in your life, and they have very different political and moral views than you, and you're trying to just kind of like come to an agreement, and they have their own reasons for believing what they believe, you have your reasons for believing what you believe, but at the end of the day, like you have to come together as a family and just kind of like enjoy the turkey that was stolen and killed and brought to your foxhole. So that's why I think Fantastic Mr. Fox is a fantastic Thanksgiving movie. All right, next on this list, we got Godfather Part 2. Now, I chose this movie because it's kind of a coming to America film. It's about like a foreign immigrant from Italy who comes to America trying to find his own way, and then he finds that the system in place is very much against him, and so he has to resort to a life of crime to provide like a comfortable and safe living for his family. And then it explores sort of the duality of like what he went through and what his son goes through, right? The next generation. And so his son is propagating sort of like the myth and the ideas that his father established, but he does them in a very different way, and he doesn't quite command the same level of respect that his father did. And along that journey in trying to follow his father's footsteps, he sort of becomes like morally corrupt. And it's really about the corruption of someone and what the American dream does to that, what the idea of America does to somebody. How much more fucking Thanksgiving can you get in that? Like immigrants coming to America, seeking refugee, seeking a better life, and being unable to really provide that by playing by the rules. And so they succumb to moral corruption in order to do that. That's Thanksgiving. That's America. That's what we were built on. And that's why Godfather Part 2 is so symbolic of a uniquely American holiday like Thanksgiving. It makes a great Thanksgiving movie. Also, I'm pretty sure there's like a couple trees and that like are shedding their leaves, and so it takes place in fall. So like that too. All right, next on this list we got A Series of Unfortunate Events by Brad Silberling. Now, this movie is the one that like everybody shits on because they tried to sort of make like a trilogy of A Series of Unfortunate Events movies, but if you ever read the book series, it's actually like 12 books, I think. So they try to like condense the first 3 into one movie, and it doesn't really work, and it never got greenlit for a sequel, so it just kind of ends there, which is fine, you know, because they made a whole show about it on Netflix. But that's not the one I'm talking about. I'm talking about the movie, the one that flopped, the one that is presumably shitty. But I think it's a great Thanksgiving movie, and here's why. First of all, it doesn't really do the source material justice, but it doesn't have to. Like, you can watch this movie on its own, as its own piece, and get a lot of joy out of it. Because fucking Meryl Streep, right? Am I wrong? Like Meryl fucking Streep, come on. But also, it's just kind of like a masterclass in irony, and it's really just about how life kinda sucks, but you have a lot of skills, and you have things that make you uniquely you. And so if you find just your family, or at least a couple people that you can call family, you can kind of make it through life. I mean, and life's not always gonna have the happy ending, but there's these little moments that you can be thankful for throughout life. And there's these little moments that kind of make the journey worth it and make surviving worth it. So I think it's a nice little movie. You know, it's not perfect by any means, but it's a nice little movie that just kind of makes you feel grateful. And yeah, I loved the books when I was like 10, and I love the movie. So there you go. Series of Unfortunate Events. Be thankful that you're not them. That's what I got to say. Great Thanksgiving movie. All right, and now we got 2 more movies to go. But before we get into that, just quick like and sub break. Gotta do it. Gotta do it twice a video. I said it at the beginning. Should have listened to me then. You probably didn't. So give me another like now. And if you're not a subscriber already, you know now what the kind of shit is that I'm putting down. So if you like it, sub it. That's how I like to live life, anyways. You do you, but I recommend that you subscribe to this channel. More content like this. All right, back to the list. All right, so my personal number 2 spot, but might be your like personal number 10 or personal number 1 spot. I don't know. Maybe it's not even on your top 10 list. My personal number 2 spot here, and I know I said I was going in no particular order, Wizard of Oz. Now, Wizard of Oz is about a lot of things, okay? It's about like the working class struggle and overcoming the sort of like shitty politics of the time, and there's a lot of allegory here, but really I think that the main takeaway from Wizard of Oz is that, stop trying to be something that you're not, like the Scarecrow, he thinks he needs a brain, but he doesn't, because he's a scarecrow. And then the Tin Man needs to find a heart, but, he's just like a cold machine symbolizing, the cold calculating machines of the Industrial Revolution. Why do they need hearts? And then the Cowardly Lion, he's a politician. He doesn't have any courage. So just kind of like a shill for corporate things. But, I think, the main takeaway here is like, be grateful for who you are. Be grateful for yourself. Recognize the natural gifts that you have. Be thankful. That's really what Wizard of Oz is trying to tell you. To quote the great Dan Peek, Oz never did give nothing to the Tin Man that he didn't already have. Double negative. The Wizard of Oz is not really a wizard at all. Maybe the real magic was the friends we made along the way. Plus, it goes from like black and white and in this dark, creepy forest to like kind of this happy thing that like Christmas is. So like that's just, fuck it. If anything, that's the perfect transition between Halloween and Thanksgiving. So if for none of the reasons that I mentioned before, that's the reason that you should call this a Thanksgiving movie. Maybe this one's a stretch. I don't know. But let's get into the number 1 spot that is definitely not a stretch, because this movie is the Thanksgiving movie. Like if there's any movie on this list, you could have noped your way through this whole video. I urge you to pause this video and like and subscribe, and then tell me that this movie is not the quintessential Thanksgiving movie. The number 1 spot goes to Knives Out. First of all, I'm pretty sure this movie came out like on Thanksgiving. So the plot of this movie is basically like everybody comes together for like the head of the family, the grandfather Thrombey. They come together for his 85th birthday where he dies. And honestly, they should have just made it like Thanksgiving and been done with it, because then it would just like have this list. But no, it's a birthday party. And it's heavily inspired by the whodunits of, you know, like the 70s, the 80s, movies like Clue. It's this murder mystery movie with like suspense, but a shit ton of comedy and like a lot of cultural commentary about like immigrants and sort of being able to like look at things in an objective way. And it's also a really sharp response to the backlash from Star Wars fans about The Last Jedi. In case you've been living under a rock, there's a lot of Star Wars fans who blame Rian Johnson for single-handedly destroying Star Wars. And I might be reading way into it, but what I get from this movie is sort of a clapback where he's kind of saying like, you know, I didn't kill Star Wars. I didn't come here with this intent to destroy it. And if you feel like it's been killed, that's, you know, I'm sorry that you feel that way. I was responsible for taking care of it, and I did it to the best of my abilities. But it's not a director or a caretaker who kills Star Wars, it's the people who claim to love it, but want it for selfish reasons. And they don't want to let it grow. They don't want to let it be something that it's not. They just want what they want from their Star Wars, and no one else can touch it. Least of all, a dirty outsider. Mic drop. And yeah, I'm reading way too into it, and already the comments are blowing up about how The Last Jedi, blah, blah, blah. Like, this is a whole freaking video about Thanksgiving movies, and I guarantee you someone in the comments is going to say something about The Last Jedi now. It's my fault, I brought it up. But what makes Knives Out a great Thanksgiving movie is the highly relatable message about dysfunctional families and how family is 100% willing to fuck you over. So you better watch your back, because Grandma's in the kitchen with those knives, and she's not just using them to cut up some pumpkin pie. Oh shit! No, Grandma, please, I love your pumpkin pie. Alright, thank you for watching Media Matters. If you're new here, please consider subscribing, and if you're not new here, you know what to do. Leave a like, leave a comment, let's discuss what's some of your favorite Thanksgiving movies. I make a lot of content like this, so please continue to support me by subscribing. I don't have a Patreon or anything, I'm not that fancy, but definitely subscribe, definitely leave a like, and you know, let me know what you thought. Did you agree with these picks? Do you have your own picks? Should I have just gone for the safer bets and talked about, like, you know, planes, trains, and automobiles and son-in-law? I don't know. Anyways, I hope you have a good Thanksgiving. Enjoy your time. I know Thanksgiving looks different for everybody, but you know, whatever it looks like for you, I hope you enjoy it. And if your thing is to just not celebrate Thanksgiving, well, you know, these were unexpected and not actual Thanksgiving movies, so watch them anyways. Love you guys. Catch you in the next one. I'll do one of these for Christmas too.